Hello, my name is Alexander Serich and I'm a developer at FastReport. Today we will look at the features of FastReport VCL 6. We will discuss new objects, new features of the engine and designer, as well as new exports and transports. Several new objects have appeared in FastReport VCL 6. New barcodes, table, map, cellular text and gauges. Next, we dwell in more detail on each of them. Let's start with the barcodes. There are new barcodes that appeared in FastReport VCL 6. STAC, USPS, GS1 databar expanded, GS1 databar expanded stacked. In general, FastReport supports a lot of barcodes. Let's see this demo as an example. There are the most diverse linear barcodes of all types and sizes. The new ones that were added are USPS, GS1 databar expanded, GS1 databar expanded stacked. FastReport also supports 2D data metrics, QR code barcodes, and the new one is the STAC code. Also, in FastReport VCL 6, there's now a ZipCode with various settings. We have added such an important object as the table. It is similar to the Excel table. It's here to make it convenient for you to build tabular reports. Let's look at that object. Create a new report. Leave only the top band. And connect the customer's database to the report template. Next, add the table object to the band. By clicking on the icon in the bottom corner, you can easily use the mouse to change the number of columns and rows. Select several fields from the data tree and drag them into the table. You can also change the width of the columns. It is easy to swap the columns and rows. And cell merging is also available. Add a field to the merged cell and align it in the middle. You can disconnect the cell. It is possible to change the fill and change the color of the text. Having selected the entire column, you can use Ctrl plus Alt plus C to copy the content of the cells and paste it. You can also delete the entire column. In general, you can use this object for your reports if you need a table. A map object has been added to FastReport, which will allow you to create more interactive and visual reports. This object supports the following map formats: SHP, OSM, and GPX. It also supports filtering types of polygons, loading from databases, and changing fonts. So, a map object has appeared in FastReport. Let's look at an example report. Let's delete the old map object and add a new one. In the map settings, we can add layers. Formats that are supported by this object are SHP, OSM, and GPX. Let's choose a world map. Various settings are also available. For example, label, and we will choose the names of the countries. And you can paint the country in different colors. The map is interactive. You can zoom or move. Also, in FastReport, the map can be interactive and display various reports when you click on a country. For example, when you click on USA, a report on sales in that country is displayed. It is very convenient to quickly navigate among reports from different countries. Using the map, you can display world sales in individual cities. Let's look, for example, at USA. On the top left and on the bottom right, you can see the scales. The size and color of the city on this map indicates the approximate amount of sales in this city. This is very convenient. When using a map and downloading it in the OSM format, it is possible to select layer tags. For this you need to go into the layers tags and add, for example, natural. Next, let's take a look at the cellular text. FastReport now has a cellular text object. It can display each character of the text in a separate cell. There are various properties that can be changed. You can change the frame, separate the words, or change the orientation. This type of text is often used to print certain forms in financial applications. And now let's examine the gauge object. A new gauge object has appeared in FastReport, an interactive object that has a lot of settings. Firstly, you can choose its type. Gauge can be horizontal, vertical, or circular. Next, there are settings for the beginning and end of the range. Then the initial position of the pointer. For the circular gauge there is angle. Next is the step of the major scales and the step of the secondary scales. And also indentation, left, top and so on. In the settings of the major scales, you can remove or display scales or numbers, change the color of the scale, and there are also such settings for minor scales. You can also set the pointer, select the type, color, etc. This object is interactive. It allows you to change the value in the preview and use the script to display it in the text box. There is also a range. You can specify a range and, for example, display a list of purchases with a price in this range. FastReport VCL 6 has new engine features, such as object anchors, duplicates, late expression processing, property processing, complete up to n rows, using reflection of objects, in-page mirror mode, and view object allow mirror mode. Also, object shift modes and interactivity in the preview. You can use anchors in FastReport. What are they for? Let me give you an example. So, we want to change the alignment of some objects. Here you can see a table with cells that contain different objects. They can attach to different edges or stretch to the entire cell of the table. This can be done using the anchors property in the object inspector, and for example we'll stretch the arrow. As you can see, it has been stretched completely. Either drag the arrow to the left or move the square from left to right. So, the anchor properties allow you to attach or stretch the objects to any side. FastReport also supports filtering for duplicate fields. Let's look at this example. We have a report in which all fields starting with one letter are grouped together. We select Memo 15 and in the Object Inspector we find duplicates. There are 4 filtering options. Clear will clear the object's text but show the object. Hide will hide the object. Show will show duplicates. And merge will merge object with the same values. Late expression processing has been added to FastReport. Let's look at an example of a report. In its header is the total amount of orders. So, how can you configure an expression like this? You can select the text field that displays the amount. Then in the object inspector, the processing property sub-item process at should be PA group finished. This way we get the total amount of orders in the header. Late expression processing is also available for the chart. You also need to select the processing property sub-item process at PA group finished for the label of the final chart's value. In FastReport, there is such thing as filling up to n lines. To do this, create a child band and use the toNRows mode property. There are three types of filling: to the end of the page, add a certain number of bands, and display a certain number of bands. Now FastReport makes it easy to reflect objects and so on the page. To do this, select the page, in the Object Inspector select Mirror Mode, and set the flags. For example, if you want to reflect, the flag should be set to True. We see that the table was mirrored. We can also make the preview interactive, and you can switch between the chart series if you've added several of them. In the preview, you can change the text objects, as well as make a ban on changing them. You can change the series on the charts, as well as rotate them. Checkboxes and gauges can also be interactive. You can also press this button, and you will see what text can be changed. FastReport VCL 6 introduces new designer features such as guidelines, writing and debugging scripts, code completion, breakpoints, watches, copying and pasting the contents of objects, object editors, drag and drop from the data tree, Adaptive High DPI interface. In FastReport there is now such a convenient thing as guidelines, which allows you to simultaneously resize objects. Let's look at an example and add some text objects. Double-click the extension line, then add the fields using drag and drop from the data table. Then we can add horizontal lines. They allow us to easily move objects, even if there are several of them. They will move together. Add another vertical line and align all text fields along it. Now they can be changed together. Guidelines simplify and speed up work. There is a debug mode in FastReport. You can set breakpoints and change conditions for them. Let's try to run them. Change the position of the pointer. As you can see, the program stopped at a breakpoint. Here you can see local variables and watches. FastReport also has object editors. The simplest of these is the selection of fields from the database in the table. You can disable it by going to View Editors configurator. You can also add your own editors. If you did not know, when you have already connected the database to the template, you can easily use drag and drop to reduce the number of steps to create a text field from the database. Simply transferring the fields from the database to the band will automatically create a memo with a link to this field. Let's try to do this. Add some text fields to the band. FastReport began supporting adaptive high DPI interface, specifically monitors with high resolution. FastReport VCL 6 has new features in exports and transports, such as PDF, HTML5, SVG, vector exports of maps, charts, rich text, support for PDF A1A, PDF A3B, ZPL export for Zebra printers, and saving in cloud storage. FastReport improves its exports, and now, when exporting to HTML5, SVG or PDF, the text located on maps, charts and rich text will be exported in vector format. Let's look at an example of PDF export. We export the demo report. As you can see, the text that was located on the maps, charts and rich text is available for copying and editing. FastReport supports various PDF standards for export. Let's look at an example. Take a demo, make an export, and there are different standards. Let's try exporting to PDF A1A. As you can see, it was exported with that standard. FastReport now has the ability to export reports in ZPL format. We will look at an example of a simple report with text fields and QR codes. Now we will press the right button and select Save to ZPL. We will select a resolution of 600 dpi and save it to our desktop. Next, open the ZPL file in Notepad. Select all the text, copy it, paste it into the online viewer, select a resolution of 600 dpi, then, as you can see, the size has changed and the export was successful. FastReport also has the ability to save report templates to cloud storage. Let's look how this will work with OneDrive. Confirm access. Then you can save or delete templates. Let's save our template. You can also open all of the templates. Let's try to open this one. You can also export the template in PDF directly to the cloud storage. You just need to click Export to PDF and click Export to OneDrive. Let's look at an example of saving to Dropbox using the code. To do this, create an application to generate a token. Then copy the API key, paste it into a simple application, Then copy the token and also paste it into our application. Launch the application, click on the Send button, and our report should be uploaded to Dropbox. As you can see, everything worked correctly. Hello! Let's look at how we can create an example program that uses basic FastReport features in Kubuntu. First, we'll create a folder for the project. It will be on the desktop. Next, we need a database. I copied it from our demo project. Let's launch Lazarus, create an empty project, and save it in the folder we've created. Now let's connect to the database. The way we connect differs for each database management system, and now we'll connect to a DBF file. We should add a TDBF component to our form, Data Access tab, and the table name will be our database. Next, set the active property to true, and if there are no errors, then the connection was established. Connecting a report to a database always involves the tfrx db dataset component. We'll add it to the form and select our connection from the list of datasets. Only a couple of steps remain. Add a tfrx component to the form and open the designer. Here, we'll choose the Report Data tab and choose the databases we want to connect to. Those databases will appear in the data tree with the column names. To check that all was done correctly, let's put one field from the database onto our report and press Preview. Everything is working, but this way we get just one value from the database. To display all the data, you should put the master data onto the form. In its settings, choose the database and put in it the columns you need. Let's look at the preview. Looks good. And now let's call the designer and preview from the code. For starters, place the tfrx designer onto the form. You will need just one object of this type, irregardless of how many reports you have. You need to keep in mind some things while working with Lazarus. Our product often uses multiple threads to achieve increased speed and other things. But Lazarus has that disabled by default. To enable multi-threading, go to Project Inspector, and open the .lpr file. Then comment or simply delete those two lines. Then we return to the form, add a button to it, and name it Designer. And then we finally return to the code. Just one line will be enough here. FRX report, design report. Auto-completion is called when you press Ctrl and space. Next, we'll add a second button and name it Preview. In its onClick, we'll write this: FRX report prepare report and FRX report show prepared report. Let's now look at how our project works. What happens when we click on Preview and when we click on Designer. It's important to note that every tfrx report component stores a single report, and all changes that we do in the runtime are never saved. So we can, for example, delete the whole master data, and it will be there on the next launch. So let's delete it and place a single memo with the text Hello. and we'll save the report in our folder. And now, let's try loading the report that we just saved from the code. We'll add a third button called Open. And this will be in its onClick method. FRX report, load from file, extract file path, application exe name, REPL.fr3, and true. Then button 2 click. I will explain what happens here. In the first line, we are loading a file by its absolute path. Here is how it's done. Application exe name returns the name and full path of the project, and extract file path gives us just the path from that. I could write home where desktop instead of that, but everyone has different usernames, and this code is universal. The second parameter, true, is responsible for showing an error while opening. If we leave it as false, the report will be blank when any error happens. If, for example, it's impossible to read the file. The second line emulates pressing the button 2, which calls the preview. Let's launch the program and click on preview. We'll see a report that is saved in the FRX report 1. And when we click on Open, we'll see the new report that we just saved. In conclusion, I would like to answer a common question. What's different between the VCL and Lazarus versions of our product? First of all, the VCL version includes the Lazarus. You can't buy Lazarus without VCL or VCL without Lazarus. They share 90% of the code, and all the differences are the restrictions of Lazarus. So, Lazarus works badly with the vector graphics, and all the barcodes are exported as images, which increases the file size and worsens quality. The transparency in Lazarus does not work properly, and in some places there will be white color instead of transparency, and the designer is very static. In Write Studio you can freely transform the object inspector, data tree and the rest, but in Lazarus all you can do is swap their places and change the size. And the printing option is still not implemented in our product for Linux Lazarus. Right now, you must export the report as the image, or for example as a PDF file, and print that. There is also a group of components that are unavailable in Lazarus. Those components allow to create a FastReport server and FastReport client for building a report remotely, which is useful for bigger companies with a powerful server and a lot of weaker personal computers. But the date of that is still unknown. Thank you for your attention. Okay, and now we will answer some questions. Somebody asked us to show a demo of FastReport, значит, 6 and the barcode USPS. So let's look at a demo. This is a demo that is included in the this is a demo report that is included in the FastReport demo. You can see that barcode over here. And let's preview this report, and here it is, all printed and everything works. And the other question was, what's the difference between release and current versions of the user portal? The answer to that is the current version may have experimental features which can be removed later. At this point, that are all of the questions. If you have any other questions, please answer them in the chat. Oh, and also, we have something else. We have a link to the how is it called? We have a link to the discount. So I will right now show you that link. Yes, here it is. Here is that link. I will also post it in the chat. I hope you can see it. So yes. Thank you for attending our webinar. If you have any other questions that were not answered in the webinar, you can ask them in the chat, and our experts will answer them. Thank you all for being here, for attending our webinar. There will be another. We will answer all the questions that we didn't answer this time, and we will be happy to see you there. Goodbye.